Good morning, Chevra. Welcome to our guests back there. Hello. Nice to meet you. Welcome. We're going to learn a little Tanya of the day. It's Sunday, 11th of Cheshvan. We're on page 84 in the Chayino. Let's get right into this. The flow in the times of exile. We're not calling it a pistol or whatever the name. We're going to call it Igeris from now on. Igeris. Igeris is a letter, right? Igeris. That's what we're going to stick to. I think it makes a lot more sense. So we're finishing Igeris 26 today, and we're going to try to round it out. It's a long letter. In the times of Galus, the Shechina in Galus, the Shechina is exiled in Klippas Noiga, neutral Klippa, and through Torah study, one seeks out and elevates the sparks of holiness from the Klippas. We're able to elevate the sparks through Limud Torah, through learning Torah. In today's lesson, only as long as good and evil are entangled and the Shekhinah is disguised in Klippa, do we need to delve into the parts of Torah that deal with right versus wrong. When the Geula comes, when the redemption is here, it will all be pure and entirely godly pursuits. That time should be now, Mirz Hashem. The above applies nowadays when the Shekhinah is in exile in Klippas Noiga. Hence, the main function of Torah study is to seek out and elevate the sparks of holiness. We learned this in the Maimer last night as well. To seek out the sparks of holiness from within the Klippas. Hence, too, the current concentration on the laws of Isur, forbidden, and Heter, permitted, kosher, and pasul, and the like. That's why we learn these laws of it. But says, Ashchina mi Klippas Noiga, page 84, yeah? When the Shechina, you have it on the app? When the Shechina will merge, what?
End of Igeris 26?
Yes. When the Shechina will emerge from Klippas Noiga or from the Klippa, you notice the difference here? Or what he points out? Either from Klippas Noiga, which is the neutral Klippa, an apple is generally neutral. It's obviously, usually we say it's good, but sometimes it can be bad if you use it to throw at somebody, right? Saying it has the potential to be bad if you're making bootleg mash and you're giving it to kids. It's bad, right? I'm just saying, in theory, so there's a lot. It can go bad if you don't put it in the fridge. It can go bad. Anyway, the point is that there are things that are pariv. I'm not talking about food necessarily, but even certain things. Your phone activities. Exactly. You could exercise to be healthy, and then you could be obsessed with exercise. Look at me. Look at my muscles. Right. So these things are Klippas Noiga, and then we talk about the Klippas. They're not even Noiga. They're not even part of. They're purely, there's pure darkness, and you have to save and redeem them. So after we extract those sparks, and we went extensively into this last night, so we're not going to do it again. But just the concept of that these sparks came from these shattered vessels of Tohu that are all over the world because the light was too powerful to be contained. So now we have to go find those sparks wherever we may be, and wherever you are, right, Steve? Whatever address you are, you got to address that problem, and that's how you elevate the sparks where they are. So after the extraction of these sparks will be completed, and the evil of the Klippas will be separated from the good of holiness, and all the workers of evil will be dispersed, they'll be out of a job. And the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is of Klippas Noiga, and which prevails during the time of Galus, will no longer be dominant. It's going to now be good dominant, and there's not going to be evil to contend with. Klippas Noiga is influential only by virtue of its minimal component of good. As soon as it's extracted, Klippas Noiga is not going to have any dominion. It's not going to be even called Klippas Noiga. It's going to be called good. Everywhere is good. It's not going to be neutral anymore. There's not going to be any gray areas. Everything is going to be pure and beautiful and special and holy. You're not going to have to learn Torah and fulfill mitzvahs in order to elevate the sparks, elevate the physical into the spiritual. Everything's going to be spiritual. Godliness will be recognized. So what are we going to learn for? But it's going to be in order to bring about the consummation of Yichudim, the union of marriages of Sfiros, and more sublime than those which are affected through our present Torah study in order to call forth more sublime lights transcending Atzilus. So already going to accomplish the goal of getting rid of the evil. Everything is going to recognize godliness. Now we're going to work on the next level, which is unifying the supernal, spheres and, creating a marriage, so to speak, of these sublime spiritual entities. I'm sorry. Sha'amar ha'arizal. This is explained in the writings of the Arizal. V'hakoil al yedei pnimius ha'Torah, and everything will be accomplished by means of the pnimius ha'Torah, the inner and deeper dimensions of the Torah. The kaim ha'mitzvahs v'kavana el yoinois shemekavonos la'oris el yoinim. When we do a mitzvah, we're going to do it for a much, much more deeper and significant purpose. It's going to be a lofty, mystical devotion directed to drawing down these sublime lights. Already now, what are we trying to do? We're trying to raise up the physical to the spiritual. Then, once all that first level is accomplished, now we're just going to bring down these sublime lights. Right now, we only have like last night, we were learning about you weren't here, right? Last night. We were talking about the ray, the zivashtina. So we just get a ray comes through a lot. There's a lot of layers till it gets here. Okay, sometimes it's a little bit strong if you sit on this table here, depending on the time zone. There you go. But now we're going to be working on bringing down more and more light, because we'll be able to withstand and handle the revelation of godliness when Mashiach comes. The root, the source of the mitzvah is exceedingly high. In the Ein Sof, in the eternal light of Hashem, at the level loftier than Atzilus. Wow. So Atzilus, that first world, is right next to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Eitzel, next to God. So it's such a high level, but the mitzvahs even come from a higher source, which is basically the essence of God. And that's the root of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is b'teilos la'aseh lavei. The statement of our sages said that the commandments will be abrogated in the future. Michael, help me out here. We're on top of page 85. It's not necessary at that point, right? But we're still going to do them. So when we're not going to be, I don't know if the word is responsible, we're not going to be necessary, or for lack of a better term, the mitzvahs are not going to be necessary. This is going to be the time of Tchias HaMesim. There's going to be different kufas, different time periods of Mashiach. The first time is going to be just like every day we're going to go to work. It's just going to be very, very special. Obviously, no one's going to fight. There's going to be truth and peace and harmony, and it's going to be wonderful. And there's going to be miraculous times ahead, especially when we get to the end of the line, which is Tchias HaMesim. The resurrection of the dead, it's beyond anything we could possibly imagine. Let's back up. In times of Mashiach, Kodim Tchias HaMesim, Ein B'Telim, we're still going to have to do the mitzvahs. And that's why we have to learn about the mitzvahs when Mashiach comes. We're going to still have to know. Even when Mashiach comes, we're going to have to learn. You still have to check the knife to make sure it's sharp. We're going to be doing a lot of karbanos. And the kohanim are going to have to know how to do things in the Beis HaMikdash. And, babies are going to be born and women have to go to the mikveh. Men have to, everything, all these different laws are going to still be in play here. So at that time, the observance of mitzvahs will draw down to this world even greater, higher levels of godliness than those drawn down by the current observance of mitzvahs, as we said. And this is why the Torah study will be mainly directed to the innermost mystical depths of the commandments and their hidden reasons. Right now, we don't really know. I mean, Rambam tries to lay out some of the reasons for mitzvahs. Some seem obvious, but the Alter Rebbe is pointing out that there are much more detailed and in-depth meanings behind the mitzvahs. And we're going to discover them when Mashiach comes. The revealed aspects will be manifest and known to every single Jew. And it's not going to be like, oh, I forgot to do this mitzvah. We're all going to remember. It's going to be very sharp and clear. And no one's going to forget, oh, what if I said Mash V'ruach instead of Moed Datol, or Moed Datol instead of Mash V'ruach, the same bracha. It's going to be very, very unforgettable. However, we're still going to have to review the mitzvahs. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, my teacher always says, chazer over chazer, 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 keep on studying over, review, 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 review. We're already learning in our Monday night shir with my Rav, we're learning Pesach. I was like, Pesach, we still have Chanukah halachas we have to worry about. Then he goes, yeah, but there's so many very important details of Pesach that we have to learn them. We have to chazer them over again and again and again. Only the mixed multitudes, not the Yidden. We'll have to toil in these aspects of the Torah. Shaloi yizku letam lemitam beilona dechayishu pnimis haTorah v'mitzvos, because they will have not have merited to taste from the tree of Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, the pnimis haTorah and the commandments. Tzrichim lasik v'Torah b'Mishnah hatish pechas v'Torah hadavok b'hem ha'yidei esek haTorah. They therefore, I guess, the naysayers and those like the Erev Rav, those outside the camp, will need to engage in Torah and in Mishnah in order to weaken, by their occupation, the power of the Sitra Achra that still cleaves to them. Shulei tishloit bahem la'achitam, so that it will not dominate them and cause them to come to sin. K'dechsiv v'choyte ben meya shana yikulol sheyu choyte me'erev Rav. And the pasuk says in Isaiah, that the sinner at the age of 100 will be cursed. This refers to the sinners of the mixed multitudes. Thus, even when Mashiach comes, there's, believe it or not, I know this is going to be surprising to you as it is to me, there will still be sinners mixed among the people, since the Sitra Achra will not yet leave them. So they will therefore require means by which to weaken it so they don't come to sin. And therefore, they're going to have to learn. And that's one of the ways that they're going to relieve themselves of the klipa. Nor will they need only the revealed aspects of Torah in order to repel the Sitra Achra. They're going to need an additional level. What? In addition, on the practical level, they'll need details and rulings of prohibitions and impurity more than the Jews. So this is talking about lahavdil, not the Jews. The latter, nothing for the Jews, nothing will occur that's ritually unfit, impure, or forbidden, since they will not befall any sin to the righteous. And in the era of Mashiach, all Jews will be at the level of tzaddikim, of righteous. It's possible, and indeed probable, that the Jewish people will all know the fundamentals of the revealed Torah, and even, well, the Pnimis HaTorah, but they'll understand the revealed part of Torah through the Pnimis HaTorah. As was the case with our father Avram, peace unto him. So what does the Gemara say? The Gemara relates in Yoma 28b and Kedushin 82a that Avraham fulfilled the entire Torah even before it was given. How's that possible? Now, there are passages and commandments to which he could not possibly have related on a physical level. Inscribed on the tiny parchment scrolls within film, for example, talks about Yitzias Mitzrayim. Yitzias Mitzrayim didn't happen yet. So the mode of Avram's performance of the commandments was thus in a spiritual way and in an esoteric way, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Torah Or and Likutei Torah. So Avram knew all the revealed aspects of Torah from its esoteric core. By Moshe Mashiach in the time to come, all the Jews will know the Torah in a similar manner. We're just going to know it. That's a big question. How come Hashem had to destroy the world through a flood? Could have just plucked off all the bad people. Hashem wanted the world to go through a Tahara period, a mikvah, so to speak. Okay? So the same thing is, Hashem could easily implant within our heads, as he did to Avraham Avinu, the entire Torah. We're just going to know it. It's going to be instinctual. It's automatic. We're not going to have to occupy them ourselves with laws that define what is permitted and what is prohibited, because we're not going to have any impulse to do anything forbidden. It's going to be automatic that we're going to learn all the time. And I'm saying we're going to daven, we're going to do the mitzvahs again. The mitzvahs are going to take on a whole different reasoning and meaning, but it's going to happen very naturally. Contrary to the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, that although the scholars did not derive their sustenance from the illiterate, for they had their own fields and vineyards, they were very wealthy, but still they needed to be involved in these laws. That's the differentiation between the time of the second Beis Hamikdash and when Mashiach comes. We're not going to have to be involved in these types of things. Gam Ki loy b'shil halacha l'maaseh bilvad ela shezehu ikar avodah. And when we do mitzvahs and we learn, it's not only for their practical application, but because this is the main purpose of the divine service, to learn and to weaken lahatish koyach ha-sitra achra, to weaken the power of the sitra achra, and to lalois hanitzutze hakdosha hayidei ha'teirav avodah k'meshes bar makem acher, and to elevate the sparks of holiness, as we've been discussing. How? By means of Torah study and davening. Here, when it says worship, it's talking about davening. So when we daven, we're able to also elevate the sparks, as explained elsewhere. After the above words of truth, Alter was really explaining everything that Rai Mahemna is saying, and Rizal was saying, and the Baal Shem Tov was saying. He says, this is what he's trying, that's what they're trying to say. And this is what they mean. Which speaks of the tree of good and evil, meaning prohibition and permissibility. It's a laymark. He's talking about the Klippas Nega, which is the mainstay of this world, as is written in Eitz Chaim. So at the moment, until Mashiach arrives, the dominant influence in this material world is the Klippas Nega, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And after Mashiach comes, this dominion will cease. And our service of Hashem will be directed not to extracting the sparks of holiness. Those are going to be elevated. That's why Mashiach's going to come, because the job will be completed. But nevertheless, it's going to be about bringing even higher supernal unions, as we just explained. And V'day L'Maven, this will suffice for now. Okay, so the takeaway is in the times of Mashiach, before the end of days, before Tchias HaMesim, we will also need to fulfill the mitzvahs. But then we will no longer elevate the matter. We will rather enhance. Instead of lifting up the physical world and elevating the sparks, we're going to bring down more godliness and more divine light into our world. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Tavach, Yashikayach, and we'll see you. Don't forget, Mincha is much, much earlier today. I believe it's 4:35.